that Article 50 will only be extended to May the 22nd on the proviso that Parliament agrees to Mrs May's deal in the House of Commons early next week.
Yeah, let's listen to what Emmanuel Macron said earlier today as he arrived at the European Council summit.
We do respect the vote of British people. We do respect what the Prime Minister and the Parliament are making. But we have to be clear. We can discuss and agree on an extension, if this is a technical extension, in case of a yes vote on the agreement we negotiated during 2 years. In case of no vote or no, directly, it will guide everybody to a no deal, for sure.
And that, Theo, to me, that's the first time I've heard any European leader talk about no deal.
Absolutely, it is now very much on the cards. They seem quite, here in Brussels at least, quite bullish about it. The European Parliament, Antonio Tajani, the President of the European Parliament, speaking at the first press conference today, saying in effect that if there is a no deal, the European side are prepared for it, but he wasn't blaming Nigel MPs in the House of Commons for the fact that there hadn't been agreement. Of course, Theresa May said that it was a battle now in effect between Parliament and the people. Tajani was saying that it was the Prime Minister's own red lines to take the United Kingdom out of the customs union, out of the single market, because of course from the outset the European Union was clear that that would be the only way to deliver controls on freedom of movement. In other words, to control the number of EU citizens coming to live and work in the UK. And
tell us, Theo, what are we expecting next?
In the next few moments, well, it was due to be actually starting at 7 o'clock, was the press conference from Jean-Claude Juncker and the President of the Council, Donald Tusk. As you know, they always go first, they have presidents, and then we go to the press conferences of each of the European leaders. But there has been a hold-up. We were, in actual fact, going to have a briefing with the Prime Minister's spokesman, but that isn't going to take place. They're only going to speak to us after the Prime Minister's given her press conference, which will come after the Tusk-Juncker press conference, which is which, as I said, should have already started, but there's obviously been some hold-ups.
OK, Theo, don't go too far away. Come back to us when those press conferences start. Well, as Theo says, the talk now is of another summit taking place here next Thursday evening. That's on the 28th of March. And one or two things would happen there. Either they would talk about how no-deal preparations are going, or Mrs May would come back and have to ask for a long extension. So let's be clear, they won't give a short extension, and she'd asked for one up until June the 30th. They've refused that because any extension that goes beyond the 23rd of May would mean Britain having to contest the European elections. And quite why Downing Street stuck with the 30th of June when people like me have been telling them publicly it wouldn't work, I don't know. Maybe it's the bunker mentality. Maybe that's what we saw when the Prime Minister addressed the nation last night. They're in trouble. They're perhaps not thinking as clearly as they should. But the options are narrowing in for the Prime Minister. And there you heard Emmanuel Macron saying that we're headed towards a no-deal Brexit if on Monday the House of Commons rejects the treaty. And it is a withdrawal treaty. And she's done nothing as PM with what she said last night, I think, to get a single MP who was wavering onto her side. So we could be 8 days away from completely leaving the European Union, leaving the customs union, leaving the single market. I want to ask you, are you now ready for a no-deal Brexit? If you think, no, Nigel, we don't want no deal, call 0345 6060 973. Maybe you think it's Hobson's choice. We may simply have to accept it, in which case text to 84850. Maybe you think it's the best possible deal. It's independence. That's what I think. In which case, please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC, and Facebookers, you too can tell us what you think. On Twitter, I get, Nigel knows that the only way Brexit can be fair is if there is another referendum vote, really. If the citizens vote leave again after knowing all the facts, there is a clear mandate, and Nigel is vindicated. I'm really sorry, but we have voted on this already. The idea people should have to vote again, I think, is outrageous. Tell you what I think might happen, and I really do believe this, if the withdrawal agreement gets voted down again, if that treaty is rejected in the Commons next Monday, which I believe it will be, then in some ways, there's going to be a bit of a binary choice next week. Do we either revoke Article 50 and call the whole thing off, or does the Prime Minister, when she's lost that vote, say it is now government policy to leave with no deal, as that's the only way we can honour the hundreds of times she's told us we're leaving on March the 29th. And as that, right now, it's tough to read. But I have to say, the odds of us leaving with no deal are increasing sharply. Let's go to Mark in Stapleford Abbots, who is a new caller to the show. Good evening, Mark.
Hiya. Yes, God, I hope so, Nigel, mate. We're so close now. I can taste it. It's like you can see. It's like the Great Escape. We can see freedom. I remember before the vote and all that. I watched something about the end of the Second World War in Germany and the chancellor they had at the time. I forget his name, but the secret to his success was that he cut all the regulation and the red tape. And Germany absolutely boomed, and made the name for themselves. And at that time, after we'd won the war, people in Great Britain were still on rations, and the Germans were absolutely smashing it. And, it's always stuck in my mind. I thought, God, if we could only just cut our regulations and do, which is what Trump is doing now, and this is why he's having this amazing success, is because, giving... business, the ability to breathe and actually really make money, and everybody, and prosperity and all these sorts of things. And,
well, Mark, I agree with you. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And Mark, the even bigger example of that, of course, is Hong Kong, which was revolutionised, by having a man there, Sir John Cowperthwaite, who recognised if you incentivise people to set up businesses and make money, they will do well. So, Mark, you see Brexit as an opportunity for us to get richer.
Obviously, we don't want this socialism and all that. Just everyone's equal, yet equally poor.
Well.
But let's just get our country going. We can trade with the whole world, not just this selective group, and we can all make money and we can all live happily ever after. All right, it's not going to be easy, but it's as easy as the people want to make it. The trouble is, everyone goes, "Oh, this process is so hard. It's been so this." Yes, because they're deliberately making it. They're laying down in the middle of the road like speed humps, trying to frustrate it. If the will is there, we can do anything. We can smash it. We've already had Trump saying that he wants to do trade deals. Everyone will be banging on our door to trade deals.
All right,
we can
Mark.
really make something of ourselves.
Mark, you are a very bullish Brexiteer. I thank you for your call. Nigel, I'm hoping for a no-deal Brexit. The pity is that the government didn't go for a no-deal Brexit 2 years ago. If they had, we'd have had a deal by now. Chris, you are absolutely right. No deal Brexit is better than a bad deal. Remember those words, says Peter. Well, no deal is better than a bad deal was a phrase that I coined together with a group of economists before the last referendum, and it does stand true. Let's go to Julie in Reigate, another new caller. Julie, good evening to you.
Good evening, Nigel.
So, do you think this could be a catastrophe, or is it the right thing?
Not at all. I think what we heard today from Macron was basically no deal bravado. It's their last roll of the dice to try and spook our MPs to vote for the deal next week. I think aided and abetted by John Bercow by holding the deal off this week, then he looks to put it to the vote next week for our MPs to vote.
Right.
I think it's a win-win for the EU, to be honest. I think if we end up signing the deal next week, they will effectively own the UK. And if we refuse, they will look to consider a long extension contingent upon us going to a referendum. And I heard the Vice President of the EU in an interview this morning go as far as to have the cheek to tell us what should be on that ballot paper.
Yes, I mean, we're getting to a point here, Julie, aren't we, where if Theresa May does come back on Thursday and say, right, I've put in place the legislation to take no deal off the table. We need an extension. It will be a humiliating moment for our nation because, as you say, they want to tell us when to hold elections and what the question should be. It's just not on, is it?
No, not at all. And I think they underestimate our country, to be honest. And I think they also are not really upfront about how the state of their finances are. And we hear a lot about how we're going to suffer in a no-deal scenario, but we hear very little about how the EU finances truly are. And,
that's a very fair point. It's one of the reasons, of course, Judy, they liked the withdrawal treaty because it gave them $39 billion. Judy, thank you. Carl in Marlow takes a different view. We don't want no deal. It would be stupidity, arrogance, ignorance at the fullest. It won't happen, though. Brexit is gone. Carl, perhaps you're one of those people that signed that People's Vote petition today saying that Brexit should simply be cancelled. It isn't going to happen. But please, Carl, do ring me on 03456060973. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:15. Time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
Draft conclusions from a summit of EU leaders suggest they'll offer to delay Brexit until the 22nd of May if Theresa May's withdrawal agreement is passed by MPs next week. A 16-year-old boy who murdered a girl of 6 on the Isle of Bute last summer has been jailed for at least 27 years. Counter-terror officers have been brought in to help investigate reports of vandalism at 5 mosques in Birmingham. LBC weather, dry, cloudy and mild across England, Wales and Northern Ireland through tonight. Rain increasing in the north, a low of 6 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. On the M25 anti-clockwise, a lane's closed because a car's broken down between junction 24 for Potters Bar and junction 23 for the A1M. There are queues from junction 25 for Enfield. It's also very slow on the M25 anti-clockwise to the Dartford Tunnel from junction 3 for the M20 after an accident earlier on. There are queues to the Blackwall Tunnel southbound from Bromley by Bow on the A12. That's after a car broke down earlier on in the tunnel. All the lanes are open again. And there are delays in Streatham Hill on the South Circular westbound to the Crown and Sceptre traffic lights. A lane stays closed for recovery work after a car was on fire earlier on.
This is LBC.
From big business owner to small startups, the LBC Business Hour with BT answers all the questions you may have.
When it comes to selling your startup business, nobody can actually have that passion that you've got for it yourself. For me, that's why the startup failure rate is high, because they don't know how to market and sell themselves.
Join Ian Dale every Thursday evening from 8 for the LBC Business Hour with BT, helping you to be there for the moments that matter in business and LBC.
Dreaming of a new kitchen? At Wix, we take care of everything for you, from expert design to an installation service you can trust. And all our kitchens come at a great price. There's 50% off Wix showroom units in our multi-buy when you buy 5 or more. Book your free design appointment at wix.co.uk.
Conventional attitudes, majority opinion, everyday compromise. Now, you can leave it all behind. Way behind. Jaguar Approved Used, winner of What Car Best Used Car Scheme 2 years running. Stay away from the middle of the road. Search Jaguar Approved. Jaguar, the art of performance.
Have you had an operation that has left you with persistent pain around the healed scar? You may feel this pain as burning, aching, shooting, throbbing or stabbing. At St Pancras Clinical Research, we're looking at a new potential treatment for this pain, which we apply topically. The study will take place in London, and if you volunteer, you'll be paid for your time and reasonable expenses. Find out more at stpancrasclinicalresearch.com. That's stpancrasclinicalresearch.com.
Paul, Winston Wolfe. You're a landlord and I see you're in a pickle.
Yeah?
Your tenants can't pay the rent, and I'm here to tell you to call the smart guys at Direct Line. Their landlord insurance has rent guarantee of up to $250,000, and they pay until the issue is resolved.
That's a relief.
Now enjoy your pickle, Paul.
Landlord insurance with rent guarantee up to £250,000. Can your landlord insurance do that? Cover purchase as part of legal expenses add-on. Qualifying criteria apply. Eviction notice must have been correctly served before you can claim. Restricted claims for existing tenants in the first 90 days when product first purchased. Residential landlords only.
Can I have chemo at home?
It's only suitable for a couple of types of cancer.
Type of treatment. Literally just
When you search one question about cancer, you end up with millions of results which contradict each other. For clear and uncomplicated information, come to Cancer Research UK. Visit us online or give us a call on 0808 800 40 40. Cancer Research UK. Together, we will beat cancer.
Do you need an alternative to your bank to secure finance? Well, Finance for Business are the brokers who can help you access it, allowing you to expand your property portfolio to buy properties in need of refurbishment or development, or downsize and buy the dream home before your old house sells. Broking is the new banking, and Finance for Business are the brokers you can rely on. Search Finance for Business for details. Your home may be at risk of repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on a mortgage or any other loan secured on it.
It's time. Time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. With stunning HD video, crisp audio, and instant wireless sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
The Nigel Farage Show, live from Brussels, only on LBC.
Well, I'm here in Brussels. The council building is immediately behind me. Theo Usherwood is in there. We're waiting for a press conference with Tusk and with Juncker. And the really interesting thing is, a no-deal Brexit is now becoming a very realistic possibility. And people are worried, are we actually ready for it? Well, Sky News have just broken this story, and it is fascinating. They've revealed that the government has taken out hundreds of gagging orders as part of its preparations for a no-deal Brexit. The orders, known as normally called non-disclosure agreements, are legally binding contracts to stop confidential conversations being talked about in public, typically used to maintain secrecy around corporate deals or to protect intellectual property. This says to me, and I've seen evidence of this elsewhere, that a lot more work has been done. The civil service have actually been very busy getting us ready for a no-deal Brexit. And something else I saw today, I was walking along the pavement going into the council building, and at a relatively anonymous European Commission building, a van pulled up with blacked out windows. Out got a couple of people and walked through the front door. One of them was Mark Carney, the governor of the Bank of England. Now, there's been no publicity around his trip to Brussels at all. I can only surmise, in line with this story about gagging orders, that a lot of work is going on in the background to get us ready for a no-deal Brexit. And, you know, when you talk to the EU leaders, I mean, even Macron himself said, if it is no deal, we are ready. So I do wonder whether some of these stories we hear about the cliff edge, about the catastrophe, aren't somewhat reminiscent of what people thought could happen with the Millennium Bug. Tell me, are you ready for a no-deal Brexit? Andrew is my next caller from Leamington. Good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. I'm ready for no-deal Brexit. I just want to point out very quickly, did you notice that when you're on Politics Live at lunchtime, Anna Soubry mouthed the word stupid idiot as soon as you started talking, which is rather hypocritical considering what she said about Jeremy Corbyn last year? Run the tape, sir.
Well, I tell you what, Andrew, I just don't take anything Anna Soubry says or does seriously. I mean, you know, she publicly said she didn't, you know, back the Leave side, but she respected the vote and we must leave, and now she's doing everything she can to overturn it. She's also, I have to say, very difficult to have any sort of grown-up conversation with, because she will always try to talk all over you. So, Andrew, I haven't looked back at the tape, but you know what? If I'm being abused by people like Anna Soubry, I wonder whether I might be getting something right, Andrew.
I nicknamed her Miss Havisham, the nutty lady in David Copperfield.
Very good.
In a wedding dress. So I've nicknamed her Miss Havisham for a long time. I am ready for no-deal Brexit. I do international trade with 40 countries. I am ready for no-deal Brexit if there are tariffs. What's worse than a no-deal Brexit are two things. The exchange rate fluctuations when I'm doing quotes in other currencies due to the uncertainty because I have a prime minister who can't make a decision. That is worse than no deal. I know where I stand with 40 countries I trade with. And the other thing I'd like to say, businesses, unlike this government, we plan for every eventuality. You tell me of no deal, I plan for it. So I'm ready. I also invest in companies a pharmaceutical company I invested in its September interim results last year said our cash level is lower because we bought lots and lots of drugs to stock up just in case Dominic Gree's worst neurosis actually comes true.
So, Andrew, I'm on Eurostar this morning. Chap comes up and talks to me. We have a very civil conversation, and he was representing the British pharmaceutical industry. All right? Now, it's an industry that has always been very pro-EU. We talk perfectly civilly. He said, look, we're very integrated at a European level. We wanted a Remain vote, but hey, we've got a Leave vote, so we accept it. And I said, are you ready? Have you made preparations for a no-deal Brexit? He said, absolutely, that work has already been done. So why, Andrew, and you're a businessman, why do we get politicians constantly telling us it would be an economic catastrophe?
Well, it's a disgrace because I think it's spun by the media bias. What I would say is I'm even more ready for. So I favoured a slightly Remain 3 years ago. I do business in Kenya. I'm in the Department of International Trade. I already have my proposal for Liam Fox ready for what we should do with East Africa to boost our manufacturing exports, which will actually boost Kenyan employment, but boost our manufacturing exports. It's media bias. One thing I want to say is, why, 15 years ago, Ireland's economy was growing quickly, overheating with an inflation at 8%. Why has no one in the media said they then wanted to increase interest rates to reduce their inflation? However, they couldn't do that because they signed up to the euro. Why has no one said that?
Andrew, I've been saying it for years.
But Nigel, I'm not like a big lever. I'm quite neutral, but I want to leave the customs union. I said, well, hang on, Ireland couldn't curb their inflation because they'd lost control, given up control of their monetary policy.
No, absolutely.
I haven't heard that once on hours of news coverage in the last.
No, we're not getting good media coverage in many ways, Andrew, but here on LBC we're getting all opinions and all views, and you can make your own minds up. Thank you. Tim on Facebook says, I look forward to the end of May, the month and the PM. Adi says it was always going to be a no-deal Brexit. Sharon says, it's our wedding anniversary next week. My husband asked, what can I get you? My reply, Brexit. He's got his work cut out for him. Well, maybe not. Maybe it just got a whole lot easier today. Let's go to Harrow. Speak to Simon, a new caller. Good evening.
Hello, Nigel. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. So, are you prepared for a no-deal Brexit?
Well, I am, but before I say what I'm about to say, I just say I might be new to your show, but I'm not new to you. I did some leafleting back with you in Thanet.
Okay,
met you on that pier afterwards for you to sign that book of yours.
Thank you.
So we've met before, unfortunately. Or fortunately, should I say.
Whichever way you want to look at it, Simon. I don't mind. Tell the truth, please.
Mate, I hate to be the pessimist, the fly in the ointment, but what I actually think is going to happen is that she's going to whip things up between her and the MPs between now and Monday to a frenzy level. She's going to go into that meeting, a third vote on her deal. It's going to fail, and she's going to turn around and say, I'm clearly not yet the Prime Minister to bring in Brexit. I do not have to support the House. I'm going to resign. Again, the governments are going to turn around and say we need a new PM. The EU's not giving us enough time to extend Article 50, so we're going to have to revoke it. It's going to stop there. They're going to say, right, we're going to vote. We'll then vote. We'll have a leadership election. They'll go for a general election after that, and they'll kick the can so far down the road, Brexit just won't happen.
Simon, I disagree totally with you. I do not believe there are any circumstances in which Parliament would vote to revoke Article 50. And indeed, I think if Parliament was given the choice next week between revoking Article 50 or leaving on no deal, even our Parliament, I think, would probably go for no deal. Simon, you're too pessimistic about this, and she's not going to resign next week. The one thing, and Norman Tebbit told me this years ago, the higher people get in politics, the more they care about their legacy, which is tough, I guess, for people like David Cameron. But she is not going to walk away, Simon, is she? Could she surprise us, Simon? Could the Remainer, who's put together a Remainer's Brexit, when she's actually looking down the barrel, say the only way I can unite, keep my party together, stop European elections from splitting the Conservative Party, is to go for the no deal. Is there anything in you that says she might just surprise us?
Well, look what Cameron did. You bring up Cameron. It's a good point. Look what Cameron did. He took us up to the referendum, and he said, if we vote to leave, because he didn't think we were going to vote to leave. He really thought he was going to win. He picked his dream team of Gove and Johnson, and he set them up in their own little leave group, and they played a nice little orchestrated dance right the way up to the referendum, and they really believed they got it perfect. That we were going to vote to remain. We were scared,
and we didn't
vote to leave. And you could tell that it was that way because when Gove and Johnson come out of their flats in the middle of the night,
they were shocked.
Woken up, they were gobsmacked. They were absolutely petrified. And Cameron, because he turned around and said on the following Thursday he would then go to the EU and revoke Article 50 and take us out of the EU, he decided to fall on his sword before that.
He did.
A Prime Minister's...
I promise you, Simon, Mrs May won't do that. She will either say it's now government policy to go for no deal, or she'll come and go for a humiliating extension. Simon, thank you for your call and your indeterminate decision as to whether you enjoyed meeting me or not. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:30 in time for the news. With Lisa Aziz.
Draft conclusions from a summit of EU leaders suggest they'll offer to delay Brexit until the 22nd of May if Theresa May's withdrawal agreement is passed by MPs next week. The Prime Minister had been arguing for a deadline of June the 30th, while a petition calling for Article 50 to be revoked has now reached more than 1 million signatures in less than 24 hours. The killer of a 6-year-old girl on the Isle of Bute last July has been told he may never be released. 16-year-old Aaron Campbell will serve at least 27 years for Alicia McPhail's murder. A teenager has been arrested on suspicion of murdering a 15-year-old boy in Bellingham in south-east London. Jay Hughes died after he was stabbed near a chicken shop last November. LBC weather, mainly dry, cloudy and mild across England, Wales and Northern Ireland through tonight. Rain, though, increasing in the north, a low of 6 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
Back my Brexit plan, May warns MPs. Barry Gardner, Shadow Secretary of State for International Trade.
The Prime Minister should have had a bit of humility. She effectively wanted to blame Parliament.
When the Prime Minister asks the leader of Her Majesty's opposition to a meeting and he decides he can't effectively stay in the same room as his former colleague Chuka Umunna, how would you describe that behaviour?
The independent group is not a party.
Would you have done that, Mr. Gardner?
Sorry, it's not a matter of what I would have done.
This is a crucial meeting for the future of the country.
I don't know what I'd have done.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero, get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC.
Kicking back on the train after a long weekend at the in-laws. G&T in hand. Why shouldn't you celebrate? By booking a week ahead, you got your LNER ticket from London to Leeds for just £29 each way. Chin chin, advance booker. Chin chin indeedy. So, book direct to lner.co.uk. Now for the legal bit. 29,640 seats available at £29 each way, booked up to 1 week before travel. Off-peak services only.
EU exit.
My business. Plan.
Exports.
The facts.
Leaving the EU may mean your business needs to prepare for change. Even if you think your business won't be affected, it's worth double-checking. To help you prepare your business, you can find guidance and up-to-date information at gov.uk/EU exit.
Where are we?
The New Forest.
But I thought we only had the Mini Countryman booked for a test drive. We can't stay here.
We're not going to.
This isn't exactly what I meant.
Relax. With Mini's new 48-hour test drive, you can use the Countryman for exactly what it's built for. Exploring. Plus, it's an SUV, the largest Mini in the range, so you can pack loads more in.
Great. Where next?
Well, you know how you've always wanted to try kayaking?
The Mini Countryman 48-hour test drive. Visit mini.co.uk to book yours. Mini. Who's in? Test drive subject to status and availability. Terms and conditions apply. Participating Mini retailers only.
When you're done for the day, you can't just lock up your data in a safe. Which is why BT is now offering 50% off when you combine Broadband Essential with added backup and device protection. Because it's just as important to be protected as it is to be connected. Find out more at bt.com/businessprotect. BT. Be there. BT terms apply. Up to 50% saving is the maximum discount available on the BT Business Broadband Essential Package. Delivery charges are applicable. See bt.com/businessprotect for full T's and C's.
Looking for an easy way to find the best boiler, get it delivered and installed? Visit swaleheating.com. Rely on us to keep you warm.
I'm Peter Jones. I've worked with many businesses. They're all different. So why be shoehorned into accounting software that treats all businesses the same? Sage Business Cloud is different. It fits your business's ever-changing needs, like preparing for making tax digital. With Sage, you're good to go. Business is about making wise choices. It's about being Sage.
Be ready for making tax digital. Sign up for a free MTD consultation at sage.com/MTD.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital. Paying the mortgage, and the cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice, soon as. I did.
Macmillan, right there with you. Call 0808 808 0000 now.
Landlords, Direct Line guarantees to beat other insurers' renewal premiums for the same cover. Can your insurance do that? Switch to Direct Line Landlord. New customers only. Qualifying criteria apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
There's a new way to report non-emergency incidents or crimes to the Met Police. So if you've seen or been in a... or you've been the victim of a... maybe your... has been stolen, you can report it online at met.police.uk. It's quick, it's more convenient, and it's handled by the same team who answer our calls. Incident or crime? Tell us online. Metropolitan Police Service.
The Nigel Farage Show, live from Brussels, only on LBC.
Now, I'm here in Brussels. I've been at the summit. The council building is behind me for those watching. And let's go back in there. Let's speak to LBC's political editor, Theo Usherwood. Theo, this press conference was supposed to start half an hour ago. What's going on?
There appears to be a problem, Nigel. Now, just before 5 o'clock your time, well, in UK time, I should say, because, of course, it's just across the road from me, but UK time, we understood Theresa May finished her hour and 45-minute speech pleading for an extension to June the 30th. And at that point, after she'd given her speech, she left the room. And then in sealed envelopes, the European Council, Donald Tusk's office, put forward or handed out to each of the 27 other EU leaders what they thought was reasonable, an extension to May the 22nd, because of course the European elections start on May the 23rd, and the proviso of course was that that extension would only kick in if Mrs May agrees a deal in Parliament next week. Now there appears to be a problem because this press conference was due to take place at 7 o'clock. But instead of coming out of that meeting, the 27 other EU leaders and Donald Tusk and Mr Juncker facing the press in the main briefing room here in the Justus Lipsius building, they're stuck in there, in their council summit, trying to thrash it out. Now it's worth just reminding listeners, these draft conclusions require unanimous sign-off. There cannot be any dissent. If one European leader decides to put up their hands and said, this is completely unacceptable, we're not prepared to accept this, then that extension will not be approved. Mrs May will not have her extension. So at the moment, we're waiting to see when Mr Juncker and Mr Tusk come and face the media, but it does appear that there is a problem in the negotiations at the moment between the 27 other EU leaders, because rather than just everybody saying within an hour this all looks fine, let's just get on with it, there appears to be some dissent.
Well, it seems to me, Theo, there are some European leaders who take the view they're wasting too much of their lives on Brexit, the Brits are a pesky nuisance, and why offer them an extension of any kind at all?
Absolutely, Nigel. There's quite a lot of bad blood here in Brussels today. A lot of anger that having done two renegotiations, Guy Verhofstadt, the president, the Brexit negotiator for the European Parliament, said to me they've done two new renegotiations. Patience is wearing thin. They've got lots of other things to worry about, like the European elections and the rise of the populist tide across Europe, of which they actually think Brexit is one of the main causes of that in the first place, and now they just want to get on to talk about other things. We've got Italy, they've got migration from North Africa, lots of other things to deal with, and Brexit is holding them up. So the argument that is taking place in that room is not about, oh, let's give Theresa May some more. I think we're being, aren't we all being too harsh on Theresa May? The argument that will be taking place in that room is it's actually now time just to say enough. No extension. Let's move on.
Yeah, I agree completely, Theo. Thank you very much indeed. Quick piece of polling. Opinium put out a piece of polling today showing 46% in their poll want to leave next Friday with no deal. 39% want an extension, followed by a second referendum. And we're seeing this in poll after poll. The public are going towards no deal. Does that make sense? Are we ready for it? I mean, Nick in Dulwich is a new caller. Are you ready for a no-deal Brexit, Nick?
Well, no, it's ridiculous, isn't it? After all we've been through, we end up in the most disastrous situation that anyone could ever predict or even feared with their worst dreams after this ridiculous debacle. If you look at just about every sector that you can think of, from agriculture and manufacturing to finance, it's terrible. I'm bereft by the whole situation.
What, Nick, tell me, why do you think it's going to have such a negative effect?
Well, you talk to the people who do know about this stuff. Even your man Patrick Minford, the economist of choice for the Brexit side, said that the no-deal Brexit will effectively end car manufacturing and agriculture in the UK. He has sat on record in parliamentary committee and said that, and he's your man of choice. It's just going to be terrible. The Farmers Union has said it's terrible. We've had today the head of the CBI, Caroline Fairbairn, and the head of the TUC, Francis O'Grady, get together. I mean, two strange bedfellows begging against a no-deal Brexit. The people who know say it's going to be terrible. And all the people you've had on about saying we can prepare for it, that's only kind of getting back to where we are.
All right, well, I'll tell you what.
Good about it.
I'll tell you what, Nick, you're talking about the CBI, people like my man. Try this for size, all right? This story broke today. Fashion retailer Next says a no-deal Brexit could save it up to £15 million thanks to lower tariffs, and it would pass on those modest savings to shoppers. So there you've got Next, a massive company, a company with profits of £700 million a year, a company saying very clearly, no-deal Brexit means cheaper clothes. What's wrong with that?
Well, nothing unless you're a clothing manufacturer. And if you look at it the other side, also no-deal Brexit will effectively, kill agriculture. Have you heard about the sort of 40% dairy tariffs going for the UK manufacturers? What's going to happen in Northern Ireland, where you've got massive tariff differences across an uncontrolled border? I mean, the whole point about the no-deal Brexit is going to really, really test the Irish border, isn't it?
Well, Nick, this is why, Nick, I've been calling now for a couple of months for us to say to the WTO, please act as an honest broker between us and the European Union, use Article 24 of the original GATT treaty, and we've got 2 years plus with no tariffs, no quotas, whilst we sort out a proper trade deal. Wouldn't that be a fairly grown-up way of going about a so-called no-deal Brexit?
Well, I followed up on this Article 24. You're the only person that keeps getting any credibility, because no one else says it's got any credibility. The former head of the WTO has said it's got no credibility. It is inapplicable in this circumstance. I think you're being irresponsible in touting it as a great panacea that's going to see us through this mess.
Well, all right. All right, Nick, your line's awful. Anybody else that thinks Nick is right, anybody else that thinks this is irresponsible and a disaster, and also anybody else that thinks the WTO wouldn't act as a broker, because they've told us that they would. Let's leave the European Union for our next call and go to a country that is currently standing up to the European Union because they're being bullied, and that's Switzerland. Kirk is calling from Zurich. Good evening, Kirk.
Good evening, Nigel. Yes, quite. And I have to say, living in a country not in the EU, you do quickly begin to realise its advantages. Following off your last call, I have to disagree. I mean, 2 years is ample time to negotiate trade deals and to have 2 years of tariff-free trade. Whilst you're accomplishing those trade deals is very generous. I'm ready for no deal. I do have some concerns, more in terms of the process and in terms of what will happen next week. I do think the deal will go down if it is voted on again.
I do.
Quite how that will come about, I'm not quite sure, because it will involve the Speaker reversing his decision. But I think it will go down. I think the issue we then have, I believe the EU may come back to us late on Thursday evening and say, OK, here's a 2-year extension, but in exchange, you will agree to hold a second referendum during that time.
Yes,
and
now
that is going to be the key test for Mrs May, I believe.
Now, Kirk, if you're Mrs May and you're thinking about your legacy and you're thinking about saving your Conservative Party, that polling that I gave you 5 minutes ago, if you extrapolate parties, over 2/3 of voting Conservatives now want a no-deal Brexit. If she was to go for a 2-year extension and the promise of a referendum and a European election, wouldn't she destroy her own party?
Absolutely, and not just the party, but I mean, as if democracy hadn't sort of gone down the pan enough last week, it would do irreparable damage. And I think if I forget who it was, well, a member of the ERG even last night said if she turns around and says no deal, she will go down in history as a hero.
Well, I've been saying, Kirk, for weeks that there's the fourth plinth in Trafalgar Square. It's there for Theresa May if she does the right thing. And the one thing, Kirk, that might make her do it is saving her own party, because they do believe in parties. She's loyal to that Conservative Party. Kirk, thank you for your call. It is now 6:45. Time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
A draft conclusion from the EU summit in Brussels suggests leaders will allow a delay to Brexit until the 22nd of May, even though Theresa May had argued for an end of June deadline. A 16-year-old boy who murdered a girl of 6 on the Isle of Bute last summer has been jailed for at least 27 years. Counter-terror officers have been brought in to help investigate reports of vandalism at 5 mosques in Birmingham. LBC weather, dry, cloudy and mild across England, Wales and Northern Ireland tonight. Rain, though, increasing in the north, a low of 6 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. There are queues on the M25 clockwise from junction 24 for Potters Bar to junction 25 for Enfield. It's after there was an accident earlier on. All the lanes are back open. Anti-clockwise on the M25, there are also delays. Lanes closed because a car's broken down between junction 24 for Potters Bar and junction 23 for the A1M. There are queues to the Blackwall Tunnel southbound from Bromley by Bow on the A12. That's after a car broke down earlier on in the tunnel. And in Streatham Hill, there are queues on the South Circular westbound to the Crown and Sceptre traffic lights. A lane is closed for recovery work after a car was on fire earlier.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
Mayday, Mayday. Another Theresa May address coming up on the show this evening, this time from Brussels. What could possibly go wrong?
Ian Dale on LBC.
Word in the woods is that 3 little pigs are looking to sell their homes quick. They seem to be in a spot of bother with the big bad wolf called Rick.
Come out, little piggies!
So they spoke to the friendly team at Property Rescue, who can offer a guaranteed sale in as little as 48 hours at a fair price and a cash advance if you need one. Fast forward to living happily ever after. Visit propertyrescue.co.uk. Property Rescue. Fast forward to sold.
Landlords, Direct Line guarantees to beat other insurers' renewal premiums for the same cover. Can your insurance do that? Switch to Direct Line Landlord. New customers only. Qualifying criteria apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
There's a new way to report non-emergency incidents or crimes to the Met Police. So if you've seen or been in a... or you've been the victim of a... maybe your... has been stolen, you can report it online at met.police.uk. It's quick, it's more convenient, and it's handled by the same team who answer our calls. Incident or crime? Tell us online. Metropolitan Police Service.
I'm Peter Jones. I've worked with many businesses. They're all different. So why be shoehorned into accounting software that treats all businesses the same? Sage Business Cloud is different. It fits your business's ever-changing needs, like preparing for Making Tax Digital. With Sage, you're good to go. Business is about making wise choices. It's about being sage.
Be ready for Making Tax Digital. Sign up for a free MTD consultation at sage.com/MTD.
Cancer doesn't care how broken you feel. If you're struggling with chemo, finding it hard to keep your energy up, or your food down, cancer does not care about you. But we do. So we explain your options simply. help you choose the care that's right for you, and show you how to deal with the fatigue, the hair loss, the side effects, to keep you as strong as possible. Whatever cancer throws your way, we're right there with you. Search Macmillan Cancer Support.
When you're done for the day, you can't just lock up your data in a safe. Which is why BT is now offering 50% off when you combine Broadband Essential with added backup and device protection. Because it's just as important to be protected as it is to be connected. Find out more at bt.com/businessprotect. BT. Be there. BT terms apply. Up to 50% saving is the maximum discount available on the BT Business Broadband Essential package. Delivery charges are applicable. See bt.com/businessprotect for full T's and C's.
Everyone's talking about the ISA tax allowance deadline on April the 5th. How time is running out.
But at Vitality, we've got more to say, because our ISAs and junior ISAs have a little more oomph. Invest in Vitality funds, and on top of any returns, we give you bigger and bigger boosts every 5 years, up to 15% over 25 years. Just search Vitality Invest ISA. Vitality, positively different. Capital at risk, T's and C's apply. All tax rules may change in future.
I know who Charlene married. I know what a flux capacitor does. I know how to write hello on a calculator. And I know how to do the big fish, little fish. But I don't know my state pension.
Find out more about your state pension and how much it should be. Get to know your pension. Visit yourpension.gov.uk.
This is LBC, live from Brussels, The Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag FarageOnLBC.
Well, I'm in Brussels, and Mrs May was told earlier she can only have an extension up until May the 22nd to sort out everything, but only if her withdrawal treaty passes in the House of Commons next week. Now, we were expecting 45 minutes ago a press conference from Messrs Juncker and Tusk, but there's a big row going on amongst the other European leaders, and they're debating whether there should be any extension at all. They're also going to be debating what to do if the deal goes down again on Monday, which I think it will. Some saying, will Speaker Bercow even allow it? Well, I guess he will, because the deal's changed in the sense that there is at least now an extension date to it, a different date than was on it. So I guess that he probably will. So what happens if it goes down? Do they offer us a 9-month delay, a 2-year delay? Bloomberg are saying that 9 months is currently being debated. I don't know. Could Mrs May accept it? Because that would mean us really just not leaving the European Union at all. And Elmar Brok, a very prominent German MEP, was proposing this morning that Britain should be given an indefinite extension, which means we just wouldn't ever leave. I'm not sure politically that's possible for Mrs May to do. Nicola is calling from Barnet and is a new caller to the show. Nicola, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my call. It seems obvious to me. We are potentially on Theresa's deal, which if we assume is going to go down next week, and the other option is a no deal, which will potentially also cause a lot of fracas and potential anarchy in the country. Why don't they just tweak Theresa's deal to make it acceptable to Parliament, acceptable at the end of the day? The EU doesn't want a no-deal Brexit because they're not going to have the backstop in that case, and they're not going to have their 39 billion. Why don't they just, unless they're assuming there's going to be a long-term extension and potentially another referendum?
Yeah, I think from the start, Nicola, I remember just after we saw the original treaty document, and I remember saying to Barnier, because he was sitting next to me in the Parliament, and I said to Michel Barnier, this won't pass in the House of Commons, and he sort of smirked and laughed at me. I mean, they assumed from the start that Parliament would buckle and that Parliament would actually pass it. From their perspective, of course, it was a very, very good treaty. But I do agree with you. After we'd had the Brady Amendment, if you remember, asking for significant changes to the backstop, had the EU given a bit then, this would have passed, wouldn't it, in the House of Commons?
Yes. But they can still do that now. Otherwise, they're assuming there's going to be a long-term extension. That can only be the other option for the EU. They don't want no-deal Brexit.
No, they don't. I mean, they've been playing a game of poker on this, but you're right. If we leave next Friday with a no-deal Brexit, the Eurosceptic parties that are surging all over Europe will say, look, our trade with Britain has been damaged, our trade with Treasure Island, as they call us, has been damaged, and it's all happened because of those bureaucrats in Brussels. So you're right. Nicola, the one thing about today, and what they're arguing now about, is what extension terms could or could not be offered, if any. But the one thing that did come out of today was absolutely no change to a document at all. So through their own intransigence, they're playing a high-risk game, and I'm guessing what they're thinking is if the deal goes down on Monday, it's a big extension. I can't find any other reason, can you?
No.
No, well, there we are. Nor can I. There we are. I've been here 20 years and I can't give you the answer. Thank you very much indeed for your call. Now I get here. May needs to revive the spirit of Hugh Grant's speech when he plays the Prime Minister in Love Actually. We may be a small country, but we're a great one too. Bullies only respond to strength. No deal, no brainer, says JP. Very good, JP. Ironically, of course, Hugh Grant is a massive Remainer. Said some very abusive things about me on Twitter last week. I shan't be responding. Pete is a new caller from Brighton. Pete, good evening to you.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
Okay.
You must be so excited by the prospect of taking back control.
Well, independence, Pete. Yeah. That's what I wanted for 25 years. I wanted us to be an independent country.
What does that actually mean, Nigel, in reality?
Well, what about making your own laws?
Well, I can't make laws. Can you make laws? You can't even get elected to Parliament, Nigel.
Really?
Pete. No, you failed again and again to.
Well, I won the European elections last time, Pete. Now, if you want to reduce this to a nonsense, I've got lots of other callers that want to come on.
Because they have proportional representation. They're more democratic than what we have in this country. So when you campaigned under the heading of take back control,
right, Pete. Do you think?
Mean? I mean,
do you think
how they're going to be empowered as a result of no
we will be able to make our own laws, and the highest court in the land...
You and me, are you talking about the metropolitan elite like Nigel Farage? Who are we talking about?
We as a nation will be able to vote for people that make our laws, and in turn,
can you tell me how?
And in turn, we'll be able to sack them. You cannot vote for Mr. Juncker.
We've been able to do that anyway.
You cannot vote for Mr. Juncker. You cannot vote for the European Commission.
But we
and
vote
you can't.
Members of Parliament who in turn are represented in Europe, who in turn vote for Mr. Juncker. And that's the system.
Right.
Out of Europe. We are getting out of Europe. We're committing harikiri because of you, Nigel.
Well, I tell you what.
Destruction, not just to our own country and our own continent, but to the Western world. Well done, Nigel.
Well, I will do my best, Pete. I will do my best to bring down the rest of the EU as well. I promise you that. He's gone. Oh, dear. Oh, what a bore. Never mind. Okay. So... Adam Fleming from the BBC says on Twitter, I hear the EU27 are now discussing a Brexit extension that ends on the 7th of May, whether the deal passes or not. Macron playing a big role, apparently. Well, there's all sorts of games going on here, but an extension that ends on the 7th of May leaves everybody in limbo land as far as the European elections are concerned. One of the interesting things here, folks, is this Parliament actually genuinely doesn't want me back. I was perhaps the first outspoken Eurosceptic in the European Parliament here. Maybe that's why Pete in Brighton, our last caller, thinks that I've done my best to bring down pretty much the whole of Western civilization. But it seems it isn't just, if that's what's really being discussed now, it seems it isn't just the Brits that want to avoid holding European elections. You know, I think actually, probably, there's quite a few in the European Union too. Mark Carney said a few years back, millions of jobs would go because of robotics, driverless cars, etc. Nothing to do with Brexit, says Anne in Blackburn. Well, Mark Carney was here today. We've also learnt a huge number of gagging orders put on people having conversations with the government about a no-deal Brexit. Seems to me we're quite prepared. Seems to me a no-deal Brexit got a whole lot closer. I'm not saying it's yet the favourite, but it's getting a whole lot closer. At 10 tonight, it's Matt Stadlen. Up next, it's Ian Dale.
Nigel, thank you very much. Well, it's